My name is Mr. O, and I'm going to be teaching you to continue on from what we did before. So in the prior video, I discussed specifically number 1 to 3. Today, my goal is that I'm going to explain number 4 to 6 to you and break it down for you. And as usual, the procedure is this. In the beginning, I'm going to solve it out real quick, show you that I am capable of solving the problem within SAT sort of expectation time, and then I'll break it down to you thoroughly for each question afterwards. So I'll do number 4 fast, then we'll do number 4 slowly, and so on. Okay, so I shall start. So for number 4, Kathy's repaired, she receives a batch of numbers. So I notice that this is the equation right here. That's the P is the number of phones left, and D is the number of days she worked that week. And what's the meaning of the value of 108? So I'm looking at 108 specifically. So if she keeps paying, okay. So I'll look at it. Kathy will complete the repairs within 108. No, that's not what it's talking about. It's the repairs phones that we want to know. It's not rate, not rate. Okay. Now, so I got the answer B. And now I'm going to go ahead and explain how I got the answer B. And I'm going to move this up. And I'm going to explain how did I get B for number 4. So when I am doing this question, I noticed a few things. I noticed that when I was reading this is just extra information. This part right here, I don't need to read really much. I know something about phones. That's the only thing I really needed. The thing that I noticed right off is the equation and the key terminologies and my purpose. This part right here, and I'm going to box it right here in star, is the key thing I need to know. What does the value 108 mean? And so right off, I'm looking at 108, and I notice, I am going to notice that based on the equation P equals to 108 minus 23D, 108 right here is a constant. This is not a value that has a variable next to it. So this is what we call a coefficient. And so I notice right off, this is a constant value. This 108 is a constant value. And so right off, I noticed that anything that has relevance to anything about rates, anything about per day, per hour, per year, whatever not that has per in it will not be my answer. And so based on the process of elimination, I automatically saw, oh, 108 per hour per day cannot be it. C, D automatically, I knew right off could not be it. And the part is this, the question is whether then A or B, whether or not she completes it within 108 days, or she starts each week with 108 repairs. And I noticed a few things. I noticed that they're talking about days. So this is the phones that she has, and then this is how many times per day that she ends up to finish it up for that week. And so every week I realized that she will start with 108, finish that whatever how many days passed, finish up that batch, and then go back to it the week afterwards. And thus the answer is B. So I finished with number 4. So to continue on, I'm going to transition to the next question, which is number 5. And so when I am doing number 5, I'm looking at this question, I see this big equation. And the part is this, do not get intimidated by it. I think the first thing you have to understand is not get intimidated. And so right off, I'm going to work on it. So I see, okay, so this combines x squared, so 2x squared y. So I'm not going to worry about these anymore. I see that, okay, so this is negative 3y squared. I see plus 3y squared right here, so I don't care about these at all. And I'm going to see, okay, 5 minus 3x squared, so it's going to be plus 2xy squared. So 2x squared. Okay, so my final answer for number 5 is C. And I'm going to break down now how I got to this answer real quick. So number 5, I'm going to copy down the question, the original question, and I'm going to break down what the purpose of this is. So the original question states this. And I am going to just copy it down right here. So it says the equation states it's x squared y minus 3y squared plus 5xy squared minus the negative x squared y plus 3xy squared minus 3y squared. And the first thing I noticed right off is that this negative, once again, like a prior question in this test already, must distribute. This negative must distribute to these 3 parts. And so to formally write it out, I must understand that first thing first, before anything else, is that this negative distributes out. And so I am able to go ahead and write it out like this. Duly note that when I was doing the work real quick right here, I'm able to not need to write this down and just go to solving it. And that requires you to have a little bit of practice. That's the main thing you need to have. But the point is this. The point is that whenever I'm trying to solve these and combine things, I need to combine them with like terms. So when I'm dealing with like terms, For example, I see that x squared y is similar to x squared y. So I could combine this, one of these and one of these will become two of these. Very simply like addition sort of thing. And so I am done with this. I'm done with this. I'm going to put an x on it so we don't get confused. Okay? And so the next thing I notice is this. I notice that if I am going through this process, I notice that, okay, well, I see a negative 3y squared and I see a 3y squared right here. And so the important thing for me to do when I'm doing this question is that I need to realize that this negative and this positive cancel out, and I don't need to write this down. They simply cancel out. And in the end, when I'm working with these two equations right here, the 5xy squared and the negative 3y squared, I know that 5 minus 3 is 2. So I'm going to end up having 2x squared y plus 2xy squared, because these parts don't change when I'm doing addition or subtraction. If I'm doing multiplication or division, they would change, but that is not what the question is asking for. And so in the end, the answer for this question is C. And that finalizes what I need to do for number 5. And so, for the very last question, number 6, I'm going to go through it real quick and then figure out how to do it. So I see this equation, okay. So pedestrian uses h is height, okay. Height h, age a, between the two, by a certain long, what's the estimated increase in inches? Okay. So I see that, okay. So, years between 2 to 5. Okay, so the height in inches total. Okay, so the point is this. I'm trying to figure out what this value is, and I know right off it's going to be A. And I'm going to explain to you how I ended up with the answer A for this question. So when I'm looking at number 6, okay, the equation states this. So this is number 6. The equation states this. So h equals to 3a plus 28.6. And the part is that when I was reading this question, I needed to see what the end goal is. And my end goal is right here, stated. In inches of the boy's height each year. What is the estimated increase? I think that's the important thing right here. In inches for the growth. So the estimated increase. So when we're talking about increase, this is a little bit different from the number 4 that we just did in previously. The point is that for number 4, we were looking for a fixed value, like what does 108 mean? But for this question, we are asking what is the estimated increase? This, as we mentioned before, is a constant. That means that this is not going to increase. It's a fixed value. This is a fixed value. And so I know it's not going to be 28.6 or anything relative to that. The part is that I'm looking at the other numbers right off, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't see 14.3, I don't see 9.5, I don't see 5.7. I don't see that at all. They're asking me for estimated increase, which is very similar to the idea of slope. And that's like sort of the idea where, for example, if I have a line, it's like how much does it increase constantly, increment base-wise. And so, for example, for this scenario, my estimated increase is right here, aka the 3. I don't see any other possible value that could help me solve for that, and thus it is going to be A. And that concludes for number 6. And that concludes the video for today.